Oh, man. Alright, people. I just got finished beating the game, and I didn't do 100%. I know I didn't. I'm going to go back, and, I'm going to still, do out all the side quests and stuff like that, so. But I just got to, they did that damn thing with this. I went into this game thinking it was going to be, some bullshit. I mean, there's no other word to put it. I went into it thinking like, oh man, they just, as soon as I heard the premise of the game, I was like, aliens invade, and I was like, man, whatever, they just don't know where to go, so they just making up anything. Because I wasn't a big fan of Part 3 because of how the story played out, and to me, when I play games, story is a really big thing. And I know that Saints Row isn't the most story-heavy game, but I loved Part 2, and that had a lot of story for open world, open world, do anything you want game. And when I played Part 3, I didn't like it because the story was pretty much a rehash of Part 2, and they killed Johnny Gat on some bullshit, And besides that, I didn't like none of the new gangs. Me personally, I didn't like. The city was cool. The gangs, they didn't feel as entertaining to play. Let me say that. As Part 2. If you play Part 2, you'll know what I mean by that. When you played the game, the leaders of the gangs in Part 2 were better leaders, and the game played better for it, rather than Part 2. Part 3 was like, oh, look, here's these 3 gangs. They're a part of the syndicate. We got to take down this syndicate. Why? Because, I don't know, they tried to kill us. It was like, that was it. There was no fleshed out storyline or character development with the bad guys, and it showed. And they killed off Johnny Gat. And it wasn't the fact that they killed him off. It's just they killed off such a popular character, such a well-built character, a well-built supporting character. And they killed him off with some bullshit. That's like them in Mass Effect killing Garrus on a stray bullet or something. It's like, hold on, you don't do that. You make him have a hot moment, whether that's saving your life or doing whatever, and then kill him off, make it mean something, not on some bullshit like that. So when I went into this game, I didn't think a lot of it. I was like, man, this game gonna be bullshit. It's about aliens invading Earth. They don't know what they're doing. They just, that was my mentality in it. I wasn't excited for it in any way. I was treating it just like I treat the new GTA, GTA 5 that's about to come out. I have no hope for that game whatsoever. I know it's going to be popular, people are going to play it, but I'm not pumped for it. After the last game, after Part 4, I hated Part 4. So I'm going to, I hate it. It makes me dislike the next game. I'm not excited to buy it. I'm not excited to play it, none of that. And that's how I felt about this too. And then I was like, they bringing Gat back. And I was like, oh, hold up. They bringing back Johnny Gat. And I was like, fuck it. Now at least that had my interest. Excuse me. Because I was wondering how they was going to do it. And I thought he was going to be like a clone or some type of crap like that where like, all right, it's going to be Johnny, but it ain't really going to be him, I thought it was going to be one of those kind of situations. But the way they brought him back to playing crash, I was like, all right, that's hot, yeah, it was kind of a cop-out, but I didn't mind. It was cool. And the rest of the game, it felt like the developers were having fun with the game. I mean, and it definitely showed, like, all the references. You could tell the game was made by a bunch of people, or if not older people, than from my generation. I just turned 30 like a couple weeks ago. And this game is made by people who at least were in their mid-20s and up as far as age. You could tell. Because all the movie references, all the music references, all the stuff to all the other popular games and movies and things like that they put in there making fun of it to make a comedy out of the game, it showed. Like, this game was fun. It reminded me of what GTA said fuck you to in Part 4. And that's why I didn't like Part 4. You went from being a great game, and then they went in this whole realistic aspect, and that kind of didn't mesh well with your game. I mean, that game was meant to be fun, just like Saints Row was meant to be fun. You know, it wasn't meant to take itself super seriously, but you could still have the game be serious when it came down to it in certain aspects, like Part 2. And that's why I like that one, because it was like, yeah, it was a fun game. It had a lot of laughs, but when Aisha died, got her head cut off, and Johnny flipped out and beat the hell out of dude in the cemetery, that was serious. That was hot. And this game was like the same way. It was kind of like this game was a throwback. You know, you had all the game. It made fun of video games. It made fun of movies. All the little references in it. And if you are a fan of all of that mediums, it showed. You know what I'm saying? Like, as I was playing the game, I had nothing but laughs on my face this whole entire game. I can't think of not one mission that I did in this game, and I didn't do every side mission yet. I'm gonna go back and do it. But I did pretty much, you know, just the story aspect of it with a little bit of loyalty missions on the side here and there. And it showed. I can't think of one mission in the game where I was like, oh man, I hate doing this mission. Or I hated this about the game. Or I hated that about the game. There's nothing I hate about this game. There are a couple things I dislike. Nothing really heavy. Like, I wish they'd have had more clothes in the game. I wish they'd have they didn't really need it, but I wish they'd have touched on the graphics a little bit. But I can see why they didn't. You can't have a game filled with a lot of content and be graphically good. That's just, you know, modern consoles are 8 years old by now. They suck when it comes to, you know, standard hardware. So I can understand that. The things I dislike about the game, there were kind of a few glitches here and there. Doing certain boss level type missions in the game. My game froze maybe about 3 or 4 times. I'd had to turn my Xbox off, turn it back on, start it back up, and continue on with it. But besides that, the game was fun. I mean, graphically, the game was, yeah, it looks just like the last game, but that's not a bad thing. I mean, the graphics did their job. I mean, I'm not expecting Saints Row to look like Battlefield 4. I'm sorry, it's not going to work. I wouldn't even go in expecting that. The sound design was pretty good. I didn't hear much of the radio because I had my radio turned down the entire time because I didn't want strikes on my YouTube channel. But the music that they had in the game was a lot of throwbacks and stuff like that I did hear, like the little dance sequence at the end. That was hot. That was funny. The voice acting was done pretty good. You know, it wasn't no Metal Gear Solid or no Mass Effect, but it was good. I mean, it was great. You know. There was no voice actor in that game that I was like, you know what, oh man, I don't like their voice or they sound shitty. Even when it comes down to all the little extra lines in the voice work too, besides cutscenes, like when you pick characters to walk around with you, they would talk back and forth to each other about, you know, the stuff that was going on in the game, in the world, or something like that. Love that. It reminded me of Mass Effect, and a lot of things in this game remind me of Mass Effect, and maybe that's what they were making fun of. Like, every time you would go back to the ship, you had the romance options. I mean, I never did none of them because I've seen a couple videos of them, and it's just little 5-second, you know, cutscenes that are just really stupid. But just the fact that they added them in there as they were making fun of Mass Effect, and it showed, because if you played Mass Effect, I mean, you can see all the familiar, you know, things in it. Not so much as how the ship looked, but even the layout of the ship a little bit when it came to like the cargo bay and stuff. But I mean, it was just good. I mean, they raised the bar. They raised the bar so good with this game. I can't see how they're gonna make another one. They raised it so high that you can't. I'm not gonna say they couldn't do it, but they would have to have the Saints take on the Galaxy. And I just can't see them doing that. They're going to probably just, you know, if they do make a Saints Row 5, I'm pretty sure they probably will. It's going to be a whole new game, whole new set of cast of people. They might have, like, people who look like, you know, they might have a Johnny Gat lookalike in the new one, you know. Even though it ain't going to be Gat, but at least give a nod to, you know, the original. Or they might have a character that's just like them, but a little bit different. But they, you know, it's going to be a completely new game. You know, I mean, you can see that coming. Especially how they did. This game was kind of like it was a throwback, and it was entertaining. That's the biggest thing I want to get across. This game was entertaining. If you grew up in the 80s and 90s, you will love this game. If you're not like a super serious kind of sort of gamer that can't have fun, you will love this game. That's just the way it is. I thought the one main downside, I'm not gonna say downside, but this game it reminded me of Prototype, and pretty much most of the powers, except for like, they took every major superpower from every other video game that has superpowers and put them all in one game. And the downside about that is it made it fun as hell to traverse the city from one area to another, but at the same time it made you too powerful. Ever since you started getting powers in the beginning of the game, the rest of the game became like, not like a cakewalk, but you were too strong. The challenge wasn't there through, let's say, 70% of the game. And it's not that that's a bad thing. It made it so you can have more fun, but when they did that, it kind of threw away all the other aspects of the game. Like when you got super jump and super sprint and you could run around the town really fast, faster than cars, you no longer drove cars. See what I'm saying? So then all those different car things, like, oh yeah, let me put NOS, let me do the upgrades, let me paint my car, let me collect different cars in the game, you threw that to the wayside because you didn't need them. Unless you're like one of those kind of people who just, that's what you like in this kind of sort of game, so that's why you play it. Then you're going to play without powers. I like the fact that they gave you the freedom of, well, kind of sort of to a point. You can't really play the game without the powers because you have to beat certain enemies using the powers. But you still can play the game if you want without the powers. They didn't force you to use them in the core gameplay. You can still run around with guns, level up your guns, run around and do regular gang stuff. They didn't cut none of that out. You can still do it. It's just with the powers and stuff, you don't really need to, But it's there if you decide to do it. I like the fact that they did that. Like I said, graphically the game was nice. Sound design was nice. Even when it came down to the special effects and the powers and stuff, I liked some of the sounds in that too. What else was good? The extras was good. Oh my god, the extras. All the different throwback comedy type stuff, like with the Zinniac's text-based adventures, Johnny Gat's Saints of Rage, all those different things like that was so hot. I just love this game. I know I'm going to replay it. That's without question. I'm going to replay it. They didn't have to do none of that. They could have just came out with some bullshit, and they could have just made another, Saints Row game without the extras. But as like I was saying before, this game, besides it being a throwback to all the things that you like, or all the movies that you liked, or all the games that you liked, besides that, this game was kind of like a send-off, to where like they knew that this was going to be the last game with these characters in it, and so they made it balls to the wall, fun, entertaining action, and they just said fuck it. How wild can we make this story and still make it good? Watch the end credit scene, but even during the pictures and stuff and the way they're posing, they're having fun when they made a game. And it shows. They didn't take the game really seriously as far as like, oh, this game has to have this and it has to have that. They made it fun, and that's what's going to make this game memorable in the long term. People are probably going to be playing this game and replaying this game for probably the next 2 or 3 years until the next fun GTA game comes out. I don't know if that's going to be the next one or not, but and even then, you could have GTA. But Saints Row was like the counterbalance to GTA. It started out as a GTA clone, but it became its own game, its own franchise, and said, fuck GTA. You want to go realistic? We're going to go the fun way. And that's why people loved, Saints Row. It was just fun. And I'm glad that they made this game the way they did, because they didn't have to. They could have easily took the Saints, moved them to another city, and be like, oh, look, defeat these gangs all over again. But they didn't. And they decided to go balls to the wall with the action and the story and try to make the game as fun as they could possibly make it. And I really do thank thank them for doing that, because this made it a very, very memorable game. It really did. I know I didn't in this kind of review, I didn't touch on things in general, but that's because I'm still pumped about the game, and I just really, really, really love how this game turned out. This game was fun as hell. It was entertaining, and I mean, I hope you guys can hear this and like how I feel about this game and the tone of my voice. This game was just entertaining. It was so much fun. I was smiling the entire time I was playing it. And then some. I was laughing my ass off when I was recording my Let's Play in certain parts. Y'all just gotta play it, man. And like, that's all I want to say. Y'all just have to play it. If you like fun video games, play this game. If you don't like fun video games, don't play it. You're probably not gonna like it. If you don't know how to have fun, this is not the game for you. If you can't put down, realism and all that, and say, "Oh man, like this game is this, that, and the other," don't play it. If you're one of those kind of people who loved how Saints Row used to be, with the feeling like a gang member taking over the streets, if that's if that's what gets you hard in the morning, then you're probably not gonna like this game as much, because this game ain't about all that. I would recommend playing Saints Row 1 and 2 if that's the kind of thing you want. But this game was fun and it was enjoyable, and I'm definitely going to be playing through again. So, if you guys want to watch my Let's Play, go do it. Or if you want to, just let me know your thoughts on the game. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I like, people read people's comments and commenting them back down there in the comment box. So, anyway, I know I kind of made this kind of sort of long. I can't never do a simple 5-minute to 8-minute review. I got to make a 15-20-minute video every time I do this. But but thank you guys for watching. I really do appreciate it, and I'll see you guys in the next one.